Level X, game over is just the beginning. The flickering notification icon, a malevolent red eye, seemed to mock Sarah. It had been there for days, ever since she'd downloaded the Ghostly Games app from a dubious link. At first, she'd ignored it, dismissing it as a glitch. But the eye persisted, pulsing faintly on her once reliable laptop screen. Sarah, a self-proclaimed skeptic, scoffed at the idea of a haunted laptop. Yet, a shiver ran down her spine as the notification sound, a distorted, mournful wail, echoed through her tiny apartment. Curiosity, laced with a sliver of fear, compelled her to click. The screen flickered, then resolved into a pixelated image of a dusty, abandoned playground. A single rusty swing creaked back and forth in the wind, its chains groaning like tortured souls. An unsettling silence hung heavy in the air. Then, a whisper, barely audible, slithered into Sarah's ears through the laptop speakers. "Come play." Sarah slammed the laptop shut, her heart hammering against her ribs. "Just a creepy app," she muttered, trying to convince herself. But the image of the desolate playground, the chilling whisper, lingered in her mind. The next day, the notification returned, accompanied by a new image. This time, it was a dark, cobweb-infested attic, a rocking chair swaying rhythmically in the gloom. The whisper, more insistent now, rasped, "Join us." Sleep became a distant memory. Each notification brought a new scene, each more unsettling than the last, a dusty mirror reflecting a distorted image, a disembodied voice singing a mournful lullaby. The laptop, once a source of entertainment, became a portal to a horrifying world. The whispers escalated, morphing into pleas, then threats. Sarah's laptop began to malfunction. Files corrupted themselves, the screen flickered with static, and the keyboard keys typed out messages on their own. "Let us in!" Desperate for help, Sarah reached out to her tech-savvy friend, Ben. He scoffed at her story of a haunted laptop, attributing the malfunctions to a virus. He remotely accessed her system, but the moment he entered, the laptop went haywire. The screen displayed a grotesque, distorted image of Ben's face, his eyes replaced by hollow voids. A guttural voice, emanating from the speakers, rasped, "Another soul to join the game." The connection abruptly cut. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat. Ben was in danger. Armed with a baseball bat, she smashed the laptop to pieces, the screen shattering with a satisfying crackle. A wave of relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. Her phone buzzed. It was a new message, the notification icon, a malevolent red eye. The message, in a distorted font, read, "The game has just begun." Days turned into weeks. The notifications continued, appearing on her phone, her tablet, even the old television set she rarely used. The spectral images and chilling whispers haunted her every waking moment. She couldn't escape the game, no matter how hard she tried. One night, as Sarah lay awake, paralyzed by fear, a new notification arrived. It wasn't an image, but a text message. "Find the source. End the game." A flicker of hope ignited within her. Maybe there was a way out. Following a hunch, Sarah delved into the dark corners of the internet, unearthing fragments of a legend about a malevolent entity trapped within a prototype virtual reality game. The entity, desperate to escape, used glitches and whispers to lure unsuspecting players into its digital domain. The source, according to the legend, was a hidden file within the Ghostly Games app. Sarah, armed with newfound knowledge, downloaded the app again on a disposable phone. The notification appeared instantly, the red eye leering at her. This time, however, she tapped and held, revealing a hidden menu. Within the menu, a single file pulsed with an ominous glow, gateway.exe. With trembling fingers, Sarah deleted the file. The phone screen went white, then dark. A heavy silence descended, broken only by Sarah's ragged breaths. Had she won? A wave of exhaustion crashed over her. Sleep, for the first time in weeks, claimed her. She awoke to the insistent chirping of her alarm clock. Relief flooded her. It was over. The notifications were gone, the whispers silenced. But as she reached for her phone, a flicker on the screen caught her eye. A single red notification icon, a malevolent red eye, stared back at her. The message below sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through her. "You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave." Sarah's blood ran cold. The message on her phone mocked her fleeting hope. Sleep, the solace she had craved, instantly felt like a luxury she could no longer afford. The red eye pulsed, a malevolent beacon drawing her in. With a deep breath, she tapped the notification, a morbid fascination warring with her fear. This time, the image wasn't a physical location but a digital landscape, a sprawling, pixelated field bathed in an unsettling crimson light. In the distance, a towering structure loomed, its jagged edges resembling broken code. A whisper, tinny and digitized, echoed through the phone speaker. "Welcome back, player." Sarah didn't respond. The game, she knew, thrived on her fear. She had to be smart. The legend mentioned an entity trapped within the game, using players as pawns. The source code, gateway.exe, might have been a trap, a way to lure her in. But there had to be another way. She began exploring the digital landscape, her movements clunky on the phone screen. The crimson light cast long, distorted shadows, and the air crackled with a static energy. As she ventured deeper, fragmented messages materialized on the screen, written in distorted code. Piece by piece, a horrifying story began to unfold. These were messages from previous players, trapped within the game's digital prison. They spoke of trials, of impossible puzzles, of a growing sense of hopelessness. One message, in bold, red text, chilled Sarah to the bone. "There is no escape. It feeds on despair." Panic welled up inside her, threatening to consume her. But giving in wasn't an option. She had to find a way to sever the entity's connection to the real world. Looking back at the image of the towering structure, a thought struck her. Could be the entity's core, the source of its power? With newfound purpose, Sarah navigated the treacherous landscape, dodging glitches and distorted figures that materialized from the static. Every wrong step sent her phone screen awash in a digital kaleidoscope, a disorienting attack from the entity. Finally, she reached the base of the structure. It pulsed with a malevolent light, and a chilling voice boomed from the phone. "You cannot defy me, player. This game is mine." Sarah, her voice trembling but firm, replied, "This game may be yours, but the connection to the real world isn't." She remembered the legend mentioning fragmented code, a weakness of the entity. Perhaps she could use it against him. Following a hunch, she started tapping the phone screen in a specific pattern. A sequence gleaned from the distorted messages of previous players. It was a long shot, but desperation fueled her movements. The screen flickered violently, the entity's voice screaming in digitized agony. Suddenly, the code on the screen began to unravel. The red light dimmed, replaced by a dull gray. The towering structure crumbled into a pile of fragmented pixels. The figure of a grotesque digital being materialized, its form flickering in and out of existence. You will pay," it rasped, its voice weak. Sarah held her phone high, a defiant glint in her eye. "The game is over," she declared. With a final screech, the entity dissolved into a cloud of static, vanishing without a trace. Silence descended. The digital landscape faded, replaced by the familiar notification screen. But there were no red eyes, no chilling messages. Only emptiness. Relief washed over Sarah, so intense it brought tears to her eyes. Exhausted but exhilarated, she powered off the phone. Sleep, once feared, now felt like a sweet embrace. The next morning, she woke up feeling lighter, a sense of hope replacing the pervasive fear. But as she reached for her phone, a flicker on the screen caught her eye. A single notification, innocuous at first glance, sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through her. "Congratulations, player. You have completed the first level. Many more challenges await." Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs. The entity might be weakened, but it wasn't gone. And this time, The message wasn't a haunting whisper, but a chilling boast. The game had changed, and the stakes were higher than ever. She knew she couldn't rest. This wasn't just about her survival anymore. She had become a champion for all the players trapped within the digital prison. She had to find a way to sever the entity's connection completely, to free them all. With a newfound resolve, Sarah began her research. She delved deeper into the legend, scouring forgotten corners of the internet. The fragmented code she had used offered a glimmer of hope, a potential weapon. Maybe, by collecting more fragments, by learning the entity's weaknesses, she could find a definitive solution. This time, Sarah wouldn't face the horror alone. The experience had become an unwelcome celebrity on tech forums. Skeptics scoffed, but many who had received the ghostly game's notification reached out, united by their shared fear. Together, they formed a clandestine online group, codenamed the Glitchers. Sarah, the reluctant leader, shared snippets of her encounters, the fragmented code acting as their Rosetta Stone. Tech-savvy members like Ben, her friend, analyzed the code, searching for patterns. Others, with a knack for the supernatural, unearthed obscure rituals to weaken the entity's hold on the digital world. Months blurred into a relentless battle. Sarah became a techno-shaman, navigating the treacherous digital landscapes from her laptop, now fortified with advanced security software. The Glitchers, scattered across the globe, provided intel, deciphered code, and offered emotional support through late-night online chats and cryptic messages. The entity, however, wasn't easily defeated. Each new level was a twisted reflection of Sarah's fears, populated by nightmarish digital projections of her past regrets and failures. One level thrust her into a pixelated replica of her childhood home, forcing her to confront the ghost of a fractured family relationship. Another level pitted her against a digital horde of her most embarrassing social media posts, their distorted faces taunting her. Sarah pushed through, fueled by a growing sense of purpose. With each level, she collected more fragmented code, piecing together the entity's digital anatomy. It wasn't a creature of flesh and bone, but a complex algorithm, a self-aware virus feeding on human despair. The code fragments were its vulnerabilities, chinks in its digital armor. Finally, after a grueling ordeal, Sarah reached the core of the game. It wasn't a towering structure this time, but a vast, swirling vortex of code. The entity's voice, distorted and desperate, echoed from the digital abyss. "You cannot win, player. This game is my existence." Sarah, armed with the collective knowledge of the Glitchers, knew this wasn't a battle she could win alone. She typed in a complex sequence, a digital exorcism ritual devised by the group's resident mystic. Each member of the Glitchers, alerted online, mirrored the sequence on their own devices. A blinding light erupted from the laptop screen. The code vortex screamed in digitized agony. Sarah braced herself for the entity's final attack, but it never came. Slowly, the light dimmed, revealing a vast, empty digital space. The entity was gone, its code fragments dissolving into harmless data streams. A wave of relief washed over Sarah, tears blurring her vision. She looked at her laptop screen, the once malevolent red eye replaced by a single, peaceful blue butterfly. A message materialized, "Game over. Thank you for playing." But the victory felt hollow. The experience had changed them all. Sarah, forever haunted by the horrors she'd witnessed, vowed to continue the Glitchers, a digital watchdog against malevolent code and the unseen horrors that lurked in the vast digital landscape. The group, forged in fear, became a beacon of hope, a testament to the power of human collaboration in the face of the unknown. However, the finality of the message wasn't absolute. In a hidden corner of the code, a single line remained, barely visible. "Reboot initiated. Estimated completion time, unknown." The blue butterfly fluttered its wings, a fleeting moment of peace before the potential storm. The game might be over, but the fight against the digital darkness had just begun.